What is going on, guys? How are you all doing? So I don't think it's a surprise to any of you who've been watching me for a while, particularly given that you know my stance on a number of things and the research I've done. But there was an article just recently came out from the Federalist, and look, like all, I guess, mainstream content, you take what you read with a grain of salt, but this really caught my eye. 9 years into Common Core, test scores are down, indoctrination up. Well, imagine my shock at that outcome. It's been about 9 years since the Obama administration lured states into adopting Common Core sight unseen. That means that they didn't actually go through the content. They didn't actually go through what it was that they were going to be teaching in school before they decided to teach it. They probably just had a mate who was a radical leftist who were like, oh, this Common Core is going to be great. It's going to improve test scores for everybody. Next minute, feminism, LGBT propaganda. And I'm not disrespecting anyone who's a lesbian or gay or bi or even trans. But this is not what we need to be teaching in schools. Yet that's exactly what's been happening. Along with all this social justice doctrine. And as Godbotherer says, female school teachers getting boys doped up on Ritalin for not obeying their bullshit. And that does happen. Not in every school, but it does happen in a lot of, in way too many cases. So, yeah, the Obama administration lured states into adopting Common Core sight unseen with promises it would improve student achievement. Like President Obama's other big promises. If you like your doctor, you can keep your doctor. This one's been proven a scam. If you set and enforce rigorous, challenging standards and assessments, he said, if you put outstanding teachers at the front of the classroom, if you turn around failing schools, your state can win a race to the top grant that will not only help students outcompete workers around the world, but let them fulfill their God-given potential, President Obama said in July 2009. Well, what bullshit that turned out to be. He went on to state his faith that Common Core, at that point unwritten, so would not only make, and I quote, would not only make America's entire education system the envy of the world, but we will launch a race to the top that will prepare every child everywhere in America for the challenges of the 21st century. Race to the Top was a $4 billion money pot inside the 2009 stimulus that helped bribe states into Common Core. So they were basically throwing cash at the states to get them to accept this Common Core, which Obama was talking so highly of before it was even written, right? I mentioned at that point unwritten. So he hadn't even written the Common Core yet. It hadn't even been created. It wasn't even in existence. It was just a concept. And he's already talking about how much it's going to transform the world. Oh, yeah. Felt a lot of good that did. So here we are, 9 years later. Common Core has been officially rolled out into US public and even many private schools for at least 3 to 5 years now. Are American children increasingly prepared for the challenges of the 21st century? Challenges like protesting against Donald Trump, making sure he doesn't get back in 2020. Pfft, please. It's not a challenge. That's actually an insurmountable challenge because he's going to win in 2020, right? Regardless of whether you're a Trump fan or not, right? I think he's got some good ideas and I think he's got the long game and the best interests of the country in heart, personally. I could be wrong, but apparently a lot of Americans think I'm right and that's why they voted for him. That's why they're going to continue to keep voting for him. That's why he's getting levels of support previously unseen at this point in time. Here we go. So are American children increasingly prepared for the challenges of the 21st century? We're actually seeing the opposite. They're increasingly less prepared. And there's mounting evidence that Common Core deserves some of the blame. Student achievements largely down or flat. ACT scores released earlier this month shows that student maths achievement is at, get it, a 20-year low. 20-year low! That is insane! The latest English ACT scores are slightly down since 2007, and students' readiness for college-level English was at its lowest level since ACT's creators began measuring that item in 2002, 17 years ago now. So right now, students' readiness for college-level English is at its lowest level in 17 years. Students' preparedness for college-level math is at its lowest point since 2004, 15 years. And as Ezra Pound says, I bet this commie program favors elevating girls and simping boys. I would probably agree with that sentiment. SAT scores also dropped post-Common Core until it fully implemented a new system tailored for Common Core. How convenient. Even after the test was overhauled to match Common Core, average test scores increased by 0.7% in the most recent results. It represents almost no difference to pre-Common Core results, and the public can't know exactly how the scores were recentered and altered either. In all the previous SAT overhauls, average scores technically went up, but, big but there, statistical analysis shows they've actually been steadily losing ground over the past 60 years. In other words, the SAT has a history of score inflation, and the Common Core is doing nothing to reverse that. About a year ago, I wrote about the latest round of international tests that publish every 5 years. They showed US 4th graders declining on reading achievement. By 4th grade, they should be way ahead, but they're falling back. It's just incredible. The 2015 results on the most reliable nationwide US test showed the first ever significant decline of 2 to 3 points, about a quarter of a grade level worth, in mathematics at both grades 4 and 8. And in grade 4 reading, the next iteration of that test showed 0 gains again. During the Obama administration, writes Harvard professor Paul Peterson, no substantively significant worldwide gains, let me rephrase that, let me start that again. No substantively significant nationwide gains were registered for any of the 3 racial and ethnic groupings in maths at reading or reading at either 4th or 8th grade level. They told us the Common Core would fix this problem. We were promised that Common Core would reverse these trends. Think tankers Michael Petrilli and Robert Pondiscio, I'm not sure how that's pronounced, so I apologize if I got it wrong. wrong. Man, sounds like I did Common Core, but I didn't, I'm just tired. Apologies. Here we go. So these guys wrote to West Virginians in 2015 that the Common Core should help to boost college readiness and college completion by significantly raising expectations, Jeb Bush wrote. So I actually think these guys need to be looked into, and I have put the link to this article below so you guys can do some reconnaissance if you like. I'm going to be doing some reconnaissance on my own. Might not do a video on it, but I'm just very interested. Jeb Bush wrote in National Review in 2013, to compete with the rest of the world, we must produce competitive high school graduates. That means we have to make sure that the skills they are learning are aligned with what employers and colleges expect high school graduates to know. The Common Core state standards set an ambitious and voluntary goal line. Well, it doesn't sound very ambitious, given that the kids are just flopping after being taught Common Core, aka indoctrinated. If young people are to be productive adults in the knowledge economy, they need standards that truly prepare them for college and careers. Yeah, social justice standards by the sounds of it. Obama Education Secretary Arne Duncan said in a 2010 speech touting Common Core, "We will end what has become a race to the bottom in our schools and instead spur a race to the top by encouraging better standards and assessments." President Obama said in 2009, "Standards is jargon for Common Core." In fact, Common Core supporters used the same fail rates we still have almost a decade post-Common Core as a key argument to justify adopting and keeping Common Core. That's kind of like someone saying, you know what? We've been eating KFC for the last 10 years and we haven't been getting healthier. So let's keep eating KFC because that's totally going to help us. That's basically the logic behind it. Although KFC is delicious, to be fair. For example, Bush and former New York City's schools chancellor Joel Klein argued in the Wall Street Journal in 2011 that Common Core would help address ACT data showing 3/4, aka 75%, of the young men and women entering colleges were not adequately prepared academically for first-year college courses. Instead, however, the evidence indicates that at best, Common Core made negligible improvements, and at its worst, it's reduced student achievement, all while soaking up huge amounts of time and money. The years of small but visible achievement growth under George W. Bush have been replaced by zero growth under and after Obama. The best evidence available indicates American kids have gotten all the academic boost they're going to get out of Common Core already, if there is any gain to be taken from it at all, which I don't think there is by the sounds of it. So learning hasn't improved, but indoctrination is amped like a motherfucker. So if US taxpayers spend billions of dollars and countless public employees' man hours switching schools to Common Core, what are we getting out of it? That's a great question. Let me answer that. Certainly not academic achievement growth. What we seem to be getting plenty of. What we do seem to be getting is plenty of political indoctrination. Just recently, Rick Hess and Grant Addison wrote about what's happened to people who have worked for and led organizations that received millions from Obama's Common Core grants and from the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation, which also bankrolled Common Core. At its annual Standards Institute, a prominent conference to teach teachers how to teach Common Core, the organization Unbound Ed slathers its Common Core workshops with race-based Rancor and junk science, providing a snapshot into the ongoing transformation of school reform. To keep their teaching licenses, many teachers have had to regularly attend conferences like these for usually taxpayer-sponsored professional development. Nowadays, teacher licensing mandates often specifically require teachers to learn Common Core themed things. So basically, to keep their jobs, teachers have to learn more about Common Core. Right? The Standards Institute helps them fulfill that job requirement. It did so this year by using Common Core as a Trojan horse to insert wildly leftist, arguably racist indoctrination. Here's Hess and Addison describing some of their materials. All right? And I'm going to quote the snippet from what Hess and Addison actually wrote. Unbound Ed's training in reading and math instruction is grounded in conversations about the roles that race, bias, and prejudice play in our schools and classrooms. Its Standards Institute prepares educators to be equity change agents. To become one, participants are told, they must first acknowledge that we are part of a systematically racist system of education. Yeah, Common Core is just so good for kids. If you're under the and this is what Unbound CEO Kate Gerson, who's obviously a ridiculous radical feminist, and you can make your own mind up about that once I provide you with this little snippet. If you're under the impression that there are good white people and bad white people, you're wrong. Right? Because that's what the CEO, Kate Gerson, told the teachers this year, according to Hess and Addison. Gerson informed her charges that racial biases are pervasive, universal, and something you cannot be cured from. This is literally what teachers are being taught to teach kids in primary schools and high schools to prepare them for more indoctrination in college. And we wonder why people are going nuts. We wonder why we've got Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez's being Congress people. Gerson used to be directly employed by New York taxpayers within the New York Department of Education's project to create Common Core compliant curriculum. That's a mouthful of C's, and I'm not talking about cock. Engage NY, i.e. Engage New York. The curricula she helped create didn't stay in New York, however. It's reached across the country because the Obama administration funded it to create one of the few earliest available and widely endorsed set of Common Core compliant materials. So if you're a taxpayer, you funded this under the guise of Common Core. Of course, I'm referring to American taxpayers, not Australian, obviously, but Australia is not too far behind. Funding racism is in the name of Common Core. Items from Engage New York's Library of Common Core curricula had been downloaded 45 million times by 2016. Let that sink in. 45 million people being told about this bullshit. And I'd say probably at least a third of them bought into it, hook, line, and sinker. So that's 15 million fucking people. Right, and that's conservative guess. Education Week reported 44% of elementary maths teachers and 30% of secondary teachers in Common Core states are using materials from Engage NY. Oh, goody. After its $28 million in federal funds, aka that's you, the American taxpayer. After $28 million in federal funds dried up, which only took a few years, naturally, Engage New York's curriculum bank was spun off into Unbound Ed's control. So this organization, now peddling wildly inflammatory and divisive political views, has affected a third to half of the country's teachers, all oiled by packs of taxpayer cash. Once upon a time, Hess and Addison said, Common Core critics were roundly mocked for fearing that the reading and math standards would somehow serve to promote sweeping ideological agendas. Imagine that! Today, Gerson and her team are doing their best to vindicate those concerns. Right, and to be sure, American education's mediocrity and politicization predate Common Core and would be present today if Common Core had never happened. But we were sold Common Core with the promise that it would improve learning for American kids, just as the few independent analysts predicted. Despite costing billions of dollars, Common Core has proven to be of no overall benefit to children, teachers, families, or taxpayers. That's billions of dollars of the American taxpayers' money, mind you. Common Core sucked all the energy, money, and motivation right out of desperately needed potential reforms to US public schools for a decade, and for nothing. It's more money right down our nation's gigantic debt hole, another generation lost to sickening ignorance, another set of corrupt bureaucrats' careers and bank accounts built out of the wreckage of American minds. Yet Obama went on stage last week and yucked it up about how Donald Trump goes around blatantly, repeatedly, boldly, shamelessly lying. The man who sold us Common Core, the biggest liar of all. Who knew we couldn't keep our doctors and kept on promising we could. Who lied umpteen ways to Sunday about his Iran deal and a myriad of other policies. He sure got a lot of nerve. And obviously not a lick of self-awareness, let alone shame. Remember this utter debacle next time somebody comes knocking with the next big idea for your kids and wallets. Hide them both and run the huckster out of town. Or as I like to say, run the fuck out of town and bail. So guys, what do you think of this article? What are your thoughts? I'd love to see them in the comments after this live video finishes. Make sure you share this with other people that are concerned about the, make sure you share this with people who are concerned about the curriculum. People that have got kids. Make sure you smash the thumbs up. Right? Let's just help this video get some engagement, guys, because it's a bit of a struggle after I had my videos hidden for a while. But let's get this message back out to the people that need to hear it. I appreciate you all. I look forward to chatting to you very soon. If you want to donate, paypal.me/SydneyMGTOW or patreon.com/SydneyMGTOW. But in the meantime, guys, I hope you enjoyed this video, and peace. Oh, and if you're watching for the first time, make sure you subscribe and smash that bell like Kate Mulvey smashed the wall. Laters, guys. Peace.